Hello, everyone, and welcome to Benefits Weekly. This is Eric Johnson, and this week I want to talk about reference based pricing because it's one of those terms that gets thrown around a lot in the benefits world, but not always in a consistent way. And what I've found is that a lot of agents and honestly a lot of employers think they understand what it means, but they're actually talking about different things. At a high level, the idea behind reference-based pricing is pretty simple. Instead of relying entirely on a carrier's negotiated network, the plan uses a benchmark, usually a percentage of Medicare, to decide what it's going to pay for a service. So instead of saying we'll pay whatever the network rate is, the plan might say we're going to pay 140% or 160% of the Medicare rate. That's the core idea. But where things start to get confusing is that there isn't just one version of reference-based pricing. On one end of the spectrum, you've got what people think of as the pure version. So there's no network, there's just a defined percentage of Medicare, for instance, and then some level of advocacy or negotiation with providers. That version can create meaningful savings, but it also introduces more friction because providers don't always accept it and employees need to be prepared for that experience. Then there are hybrid models. Some plans still use a Medicare-based benchmark, but they layer in additional tools, maybe a secondary network or some type of fallback arrangement to reduce disruption when providers don't accept the reference price. And then you've got other designs that aren't technically reference-based pricing, but they are trying to solve a similar problem. Things like narrow networks or high-performance networks that steer employees toward more efficient providers with lower negotiated rates. So when someone says we're looking at reference-based pricing, the most important question isn't whether it works. The real question is, which version are we talking about? Because the trade-offs are very different. Some versions are more aggressive. They have more potential savings, but also require more change. Others are more structured, so there's less disruption, but there's also less upside. And that's really where we add value as advisors, right? It's not just recommending a strategy, it's helping employers understand what they're actually getting into, what the experience will look like for their employees, and whether it fits for their organization. Because like most things in benefits, it's not about whether something works in general, it's about whether it works for this particular group. So if you want to go deeper into this topic, I have broken it down in more detail in this week's article, so please do take a look. As always, thank you very much for turning in, and if you like what you heard, please do consider sharing it with a friend.